5 scores! Rick 5.
We decided to get ourselves back in the game again with our podcast.
Rick 5, Gavin.
Probably the craziest story that you're ever going to hear about hockey.
We're going to be coming back to you on a regular basis.
You are listening to Squid and the Ultimate Leafs Fan.
Hello, Canada and hockey fans of the United States and Newfoundland, and an extra big hello to Canadian servicemen overseas.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 66 of the Squid and Ultimate Leafs Fan Show. I'm Mike Wilson, the Ultimate Leafs Fan. Joining me, as always, my winger, Ricky Squid Vibe. Squid, how are we keeping?
All good, Michael. Really good. Just a little bit of golf this morning, and now my grandson's here for a little while longer. So, I'm looking forward to hanging out with him and my son, and then, he's going to have a bath here probably and then drive home. So it's all good.
Fantastic. Well, and we got the Jays that keeping things interesting for us. But today, our guest today was taken by the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 1980 amateur draft, would enjoy 15-year pro career stops in Hartford and Minnesota. Known as a TARDIS worker, great penalty killer, defensive specialist. Welcome to the Squid and Ultimate Leafs Fan Show. Stuart Gavin. Stuart, thanks for joining us first up. And how's it going?
Everything is good. I'm healthy. I actually played hockey this morning, which was fantastic. After an 18-month layoff from the pandemic, it's been good to get back out on the blades and play a game.
Well, great. I played too, actually. Squid, you're the only one that hasn't played here. I played today too.
Well, I'll be playing Sunday, and I already got a massage booked for Monday because I know I'm going to be sore.
Hey, well, Stuart, up in 18 months, how are you spending your time? Are you still involved in the financial world?
I am. I have my own business, and I've been doing that really about a year after my exit from the game. Did a year in the management role with Dallas Stars, and wasn't quite passionate about it. So I always had an interest in finance and helping people. So I moved back to Toronto after my career. That would have been ending about 80 or 96, and that was started my journey in financial services, and I've been doing that. And tomorrow I'm supposed to close on the sale of my business. So it's there's lots going on.
Oh, really? So now, okay, so
so you're hanging up the computer.
No, I'm just taking the ownership hat off and being an employee now, which will be a little bit different.
Now, I was on Bay Street for 40 years. Did an investment counselor buy you, or a high net wealth operation buy you?
A U.S. public company is acquiring us.
So maybe tell the listeners kind of what you do, how you actually help on the financial world as an advisor.
Sure. So maybe even I could step back, and this might add, and some of your listeners might enjoy this, but Rick and I were just talking about this recently, and for those that have young children, boys or girls, you're a teenager, you think you know it all, and you get turned 20, and especially in my life and Rick's in the hockey world, you get a little bit of money, but relative to maybe your parents and to your friends, it's quite a bit of money, and it's brought to you fairly quickly, and your desire and passion is to play hockey, and now you have to figure out what do you do with this extra money, and what do you know about taxes? No word of a lie, I remember signing with the Leafs, and I walked out on Wood Street with my parents, and I rip open my signing bonus check, and I'd signed for 20 grand, and I'd already thought, okay, I'm going to buy a Jeep, I'm going to give my parents some money, I want to get a stereo, and I have 5 grand left open. And I ripped open this check, and it said $12,500. And I went and said, "Where's my money? Where's my 20 grand?" Like, I expected to get a check for 20 grand. And my mom nonchalantly said, "Oh, that's taxes." But I'm 20 years old. I didn't have a clue what taxes were. I never paid any taxes. I made a little money, not enough to ever pay any taxes. But that was kind of one of the introductions into one, being a professional athlete, but even how do you manage the business of being a professional athlete, and the lack of knowledge. And so it was really through my career taking an interest in my own affairs, and we have a lot of downtime as a player, so I took courses through correspondence, and and learned a little bit just to help with my own affairs. Did the securities course one summer. Sadly, with the Leafs, we had lots of time off in the summer, so I tried to use that to my benefit. Plus, I was also thinking, shit, if I can't play for the Leafs, I'm going to be out of a job and I got to get work somewhere. So I better do something. So I was always trying to learn and get outside skills to think what my next career would be. Anyway, so I started there. Along the way on the business side, even the representation didn't think was that good. So I did my own contracts and got involved as a player rep and fighting for player rights. And that was kind of part of my career. And I think because of my involvement in the business side of the game, let alone playing, when I went to Dallas, and I was forced out, or not Dallas, to Minnesota. At the end of my career, I was forced out with an injury, and Bob Gainey hired me in a management role at the Dallas Stars the first year there in Dallas. So, and that's when salaries were starting to really take off. I was with Minnesota. We went to a Cup Final in '91. Our team payroll was just over $6 million. 10 years later, Dallas wins a cup. Their payroll is close to $70 million. So a tenfold increase, in 10 years. And as anyone in business, or that's really tough when your expenses go up that high. But hey, the league survived, obviously, and then some. But I did that for a year, working with Dallas. But my main goal was to try to be there to get my name on a cup. That was my desire and my goal. But when I got into it, I thought I'm not as passionate about the management side as I needed to be. I also thought I should leave and exit that position to gather more skill sets. If I did go back, I could ultimately be a GM of a team. But when I left, I got involved in financial services. I found tax planning to be a huge benefit for a lot of players. Plus, salaries were starting to take off.
Yep.
One of my teammates the previous year was making $300,000. He signs with the Leafs, and his first offer was $2 million. He goes, "What should I do?" Great problem to have. And it was, the guys had now way more money, and they couldn't believe it. And it's like, what do they do, and what do they need to do? And I knew from my own personal experience, you can save guys money, but what they needed, and most people need, is just down the basics. Understand what you spend, and have a budget, and then have set targets of what you need to save. And so, not unlike the players have these training programs, we've done the same thing on the financial side to give them the tools and equip them to make good decisions so they can maximize their financial success during their career.
And now you're branching out into the U.S.
Pardon me?
You're going into the U.S. now, like under the umbrella of a U.S. operation?
No, our from way back, our firm, because most of the athletes in the U.S. we're duly licensed and registered. We're licensed as RIAs and registered investment advisors under the SEC banner in the U.S. I have an office in Tampa and do quite a bit of work. Most of the work is done out of Toronto, or just about all of it's done out of Toronto. But I've been down at Air Canada Centre, now Scotiabank Arena, for the last 15 years above the rink, and that's been my office. And so we're licensed in Canada and the U.S. and specialize with dealing with cross-border affairs and in the athlete market.
Well, Stu, you know what? It's good that you brought that up, because I mean, if I go back to when I started, and I think probably the best thing I remember, and no offense to Dave Snowden, who was the accountant for Bill Waters at the time, who was my agent, but I'd get a call and he'd say, "Rick, you're spending too much." I'd say, "Yeah, okay, Dave," and then I'd cut back a little bit, and 2 months later, I get another call, "Rick, you're spending too much." And when I look back at it, now I think, what if he had just given me a budget? Sit down with us and say, "What do you guys need? What are you spending? What are your monthly things that you need to spend money on?" And say, "Okay, well, here's going to be your budget, and the rest of it we're going to put away, and we're going to try and make a little bit of money. In the worst case scenario, we're not going to lose it." But that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, you finish your career. And you're right. I made great money compared to the normal people, my last few years, I probably made more than my father made his whole life. but we didn't have the tools to figure out what the heck to do with that money. And when I was done playing, I had very little left. And, it kind of, I like what you're doing, and I think it's very necessary for the players. Even today, regardless of how much money they're making, I mean, you've got to take care of that.
Well, for sure, people get into, I don't care, hockey players, everyone gets into a lifestyle that they get accustomed to. And of course, if you're driving a nicer car versus an old beater, you get into that nice car, it's like, geez, I want to keep doing that. And I think some of the athletes, because the money is there, they can live quite nicely, but it may not be sustainable. So it's to have that balance and to, put money away now so they can have a hopefully the same quality of life or better later on. And it's a skill set, but again, it's just training. It's like, as an athlete, you're given a training program, or the guys, particularly nowadays, have it. It's very regimented in health and their diet and their sleep, and and all these support people for them to optimize their career success. And so we do the same thing, but I try to make it simple. All the guys that we work with, and I say there's 3 numbers that are important, and it's not your Corsi score, your body fat, or your vertical jump, or the number on your back. But to me, what matters, and it'll matter more after your career, and that is, how much do you spend each month? Again, most people know what they earn. It's public, at least in salaries, but so they know what they earn, but how much do you actually spend each month? So we go through and be quite rigorous and say, this is what you're spending, and this is your budget. The second number is, in that 12-month season, how much should you save? So what's the minimum savings target? And then the third number is, how much do you have to save throughout your career that you never have to work? And so we can do all this work, but those, if they need three numbers, here's your budget, and this is what you can spend, and we'll send them monthly cash flow reports that are you over and under, set at the start of the year, how much should you save at the end of the year, rather than, when I played and Rick and a lot of us would be, I ended up with 25 grand at the end of my account. I don't know if that was good, if I saved enough, if I didn't save enough. It was just a byproduct of what was left after a season. And you went on a nice vacation at the end of the year, there was maybe a little bit less than that. But so we really didn't know, and for sure we didn't know how much we needed to maintain our lifestyle when our career was done. So and it's amazing, especially with escrow and deferral and how much is in to just be a member of the club, how expensive it is to play. And a lot of the fans and people don't know, aren't aware of it. But we had this illustration that we show people, a $4 million player, after escrow, taxes, FICA, PA dues, and maybe some trainer expenses. Their salary at 4 million goes to like just under 1.5 million to spend. And then, you forget agent fees, but they're 3 or 4 or 5%. That's 200 grand right there. You've got disability insurance, you've got all these other costs. So the first thing they've spent their 4 millions down to 1.5 or less. They've got 300 grand of costs that they haven't even bought a hot dog or had a coffee or put gas in the car. And then it's fixed costs and lifestyle costs. And again, people get into lifestyle. Ricky knows this. I remember my first time playing for the Leafs. I just got called up. We went to practice. I'm this rookie. And they go, hey, we're going for lunch. I'm like, great, love to go. I'm out with Sid and I'm living my dream. I'm with my heroes and idols, and we go to lunch up off the Yonge Street, and a great lunch. I ordered my pork chop special for $12 or whatever it was. And the bill comes and someone says, okay, it's $40 each. $40. I only had the pork chop special, whatever it was. It's $12. Hey, rookie, shut up. Throw your money in, But, and I joke with the guys now, when you're, whatever team you're on, Matthews or the guys after the game, they're not going to Chipotle or McDonald's. They're going out to somewhere nice, and shit, the bottle of wine might be $500 after the game, let alone whatever it's going to cost for the dinner. So you want to be there and it gets expensive because they live in a different world than most of us. And even, they have to represent themselves, their team, their family, so even what you wear, your dress, you can't go in with ripped clothes and looking shoddy. You have to, be dressed professionally, and it's all part of your image and brand, and you're representing your team and your city and the fans that support you. So I think it's really important that all that takes time and money and resources to give yourself the best success and to represent the brand and the team and the league you're in.
Well, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Stewie. I think you're right, because I spent too much money on clothes when I was playing, getting custom suits and everything, and it was like, they said, you got to dress well. You're a captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. You got to look good. And I always felt look good, feel good, play good, and so I go to Marty's Custom Clothing up in Yorkville, and I'm spending. Oh God, I don't even know how much it was. It was probably about $1,500 to $2,000 per suit. It was just like, it was ridiculous. I didn't need to spend that kind of money back then. But
you look good.
Again, I didn't have someone to steer me in the right direction, grab me by the throat when I was 19 years old and say, "Listen, kid," and I thought I was capable of probably saving about $40,000 per year average. And I had a guy that handles my finances now to figure it out. And he said, when you were 52, if you had done that, you would have had $3.9 million at 52 years old. And I said, oh, well, thanks a lot for that. It was like,
Well, let me tell you guys something. After my career on Bay Street, these guys are supposed to be smart. They're supposed to all know what we're doing. But like anything, like a hockey player, any kind of athlete, it can end on an injury. One shift, you can go out and not come back. You can get cut. It can end tomorrow. 1987 can come along in the financial world. 2007 and 8 can come along in the financial world, and the world goes into a collapse. And that thought process that it's never going to end, well, guess what? It can. And the party does come to an end real quick. And all of a sudden you're looking at, and these guys making these big incomes, they aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
And I work for one of the most powerful firms on Bay Street, and our stock was trading at $25, and it went down to $3 over that 2-year period. And they were the Goldman Sachs of Toronto, Canada, and where our stock went down the exact same amount as Goldman Sachs during that period, and nothing you could do about it. So even the smart guys get it wrong sometimes. So what you do is a terrific thing. And just on that, so we'll watch, and congratulations on that. Well done. I was going to say also another thing that's very been close to you, and I run into you all the time, the Leaf Alumni Box. I thought that's where you were going to say your office was, like Squid. The Leaf Alumni Association. You've been involved for years. You've been on the board. But I like it. And maybe one of the things that I found out, talking to Kevin McGuire one time, and I'm very familiar with him. You guys did lots of work with me, a lot of charity endeavors I did at my place and stuff with Deb and I. One of the things you guys do, a few of the things that Kevin was telling me you guys do, and I had no idea you guys were even involved. Like you were helping with, Can Fund, one of the Olympic fundraisers, and all these things you guys sponsored. Maybe give the listeners a little bit of some of the stuff that the NHL alumni, the Leaf alumni in particular, does for the community.
mm-hmm.
Well, I think a big thing that we do, and I know we do, is we engage our membership to go back out in the community and represent the brand, the Leaf brand. And today the current players they're time constrained, and they get out, but there's not enough of them, and there's a big demand to attend different events and support different causes. They're all worthy. So we can engage our alumni to go out and again represent the brand, be in the community. I think the nice thing with the alumni too is everyone might have that moment or time or their special player where they have some significant event, and when they meet that person, might be 20, 30 years ago. I'm quite honored that someone might remember an event or a game, or you played in this, or I was at the rink when this happened.
Yep.
And they pull it out, and it's very gratifying because, for most of us, your career is over and no one gives a shit. Like, I mean, like, and 5 years later, they you played, but it's nice when you get back out in the community and people will acknowledge that, your career and maybe that they enjoyed watching you play or respected you for the type of player you were. but so we can engage where there's just not enough with current players, and which the guys enjoy, and it's a win-win. Been involved with the military and supporting different camps, Camp Maple Leaf up just east of Toronto, and community for families to go, and especially their mom or dad or away and on in theater, and so there's a number of very worthy causes. Sick Kids Hospital.
Hockey in the neighborhood was
Stewie,
hockey in the neighborhood was really good. I had the opportunity to go out and work with those kids in some of the low income areas of Toronto, and I had a blast. I thought it was fantastic what we did, and we were able to give them sticks and some hockey equipment, and I thought that was one of the best ones that I took part in anyway.
Yeah, and the other nice thing too is our alumni lounge, and like because of our corporate efforts and fundraising and partnerships, we've been able to have a really nice room, as to watch the games, and we can get together and just enjoy each other's camaraderie, which was so much a part of our existence when we played. You played and competed in the game, you love that, but then the time when the game was over to spend with your teammates and the relationships you developed, and that was special. So it's nice when you do get together, and because you forget it, but then someone will bring up, hey, remember this or remember that story, and it's just like, geez, it's and of course we can all relate, and so that's been nice too, to be able to have that facility that guys can go to a game. As we all know, it's really expensive, but to go in and see your former teammates and meet some of the other guys and cheer on the team, and that's been a real benefit for the players.
Well, let's talk about how you got to that level. So let's go right back to being. Let's test your memory now, because we'll bring that sort of financial wizardry of yours back into your playing career. So, for those out there listening, he was born in Ottawa, played one game for the 67s, but most of the people in Toronto know that he played for the Marlies. Stewie, walk us through that part of your career, playing for the Marlies, coming to the city, playing in Toronto, all that kind of stuff, and playing at the Gardens as a young kid.
Well, growing up in Ottawa, my Ottawa is a great city, but you leave to the big town of Toronto, and I just turned 17. I remember getting dropped off on Jarvis Street, and back in the late 70s, Jarvis Street was quite had some interesting characters down there. And hey, you're homesick. I moved in with this lovely couple, but they were at the time they were retired in their mid 60s, and it was a little house out in Mimico. And the one thing I remember, he loved his butter tarts, and she used to make these mashed potatoes put Miracle Whip in them. I came in at 167 pounds and went home at Christmas, I think, at 190 from eating butter tarts and whipped mashed potatoes. But things like Subway, I'd never been on a Subway and go get down to practice, but playing at Maple Leaf Gardens, just seeing the building, you're kind of in awe of it. And the other nice thing, and which was a real benefit, we could get in and watch the Leafs play.
Yeah.
And so we'd get up in the top in the rafters and find these little places where you could hang out and watch the game, but you could study your craft and watch the pros and kind of continue to dream of trying to be there one day. Hey, along the way, there's tons of stories about, my time in the Marlies, and quite frankly, I question how I ever made it in light of the challenges, whether it be from coaching or from the abuse, and just I can remember one time, just a few stories about, and this happens with a lot of athletes, and people don't see it, but along the way, got some great advice. But I'd broken my wrist playing in a game, and I needed to get a new cast so I could have a playing cast. And so I told our coach that I needed to go, and he said, "Don't be late, for practice the next day." I said, "Well, I got to see the doctor, and how they are, and it's way out, wherever in the west end of the city at the hospital." So I go get the plane cast on. That's up at it was up at Jane and Bloor, and I mentioned that because I'm waiting the subway stop, and lo and behold, I see someone jump in front of a train and get smeared and killed. And of course, there's an emergency. You can't get to practice. Now I'm late for practice. I'm in shock, but I don't know it because I just witnessed this tragic event. And all I'm thinking is, oh shit, I got to get down to practice. I can't be late. Well, by the time you get a bus, I had no money to take a cab. You know, you're just kind of, you're panicked, but in the stress. So I race down, and I'm 20 minutes late for practice, and the coach says, I told you, don't be late. You're not here. And I just thought, at that point, I thought, you know what? I'm done. I was ready to quit. Like I literally started to walk out of the building and, you know, this is useless. This is my second year. And the team wasn't doing well. And it just, the vision of what I thought would be was not. And I'm going out, and just by chance, I run into George Armstrong, who had coached me the year before. And Chief knew me well enough. And so I leave and I turn, and he calls me back, and he knew there was something was going on. It wasn't right. And he said, what's going on? I told him, like, just see someone kill themselves in a train event. I get down, the coach doesn't want me on the ice. Like, I've got a broken wrist, you know, it's like, you know, the team sucks. And it was more about, I didn't care for the coach and just didn't see eye to eye. And that's normal. A lot of times you don't, but it was just, you know, he gave me a great lesson. There were some, and I shared this to quite a few people that wanted to listen, but he said, don't ever look at that person or that coach as the main obstacle. If he, or, you know, it was a woman, whoever that is, if they become the wall and you never achieve your goals, you're going to feel really bad about yourself. So your challenge and your opportunity is to find a way to go either over them, under them, around them, but make sure they're just an obstacle, and because you'll get lots of them in your journey to achieving your goal. And I took it from when George Armstrong tells me I'm motivated, and it made perfect sense. I thought, I'm not going to let this guy ruin my dream and my goal of playing in the NHL. And he had won at that moment because I was really ready to pack it in. So I came back the next day, and I wanted to play, obviously, and the coach said, no, you're not playing because you missed practice. Well, Jim Gregory got involved, told the coach, said, you're not coaching. Our statistician coached the game. I got to play, and there was one other guy that was being suspended, and he got to play. And quite frankly, at the end of the game, here I'm 18 years old, and I had to have a fight with my coach. And I'm very respectful, but I had to fight for myself, and I lost respect for him, or at least from a few little things that had happened. And I knew that my mom, thankfully, had signed a no trade, no movement clause in junior, and I had all the education paid for if I didn't turn pro. So I wasn't going anywhere. Yeah. And we had it out. I said, why don't you do this, and that? And where normally I just shut up and you know, listen to your coach. But it was interesting. But you know, those stories, most people would never know, and the trials and tribulations to get there, and the obstacles. You know, it was just I sit back and think, how did you ever do it? But I was lucky because there were a lot of great people and great support around me, and all I knew was to work hard. And fortunately enough, you know, I got drafted by the Leafs in 1980 and got to play and at least realized my goal. I remember wearing the jersey for the first time in the first game. I thought, hey, at least I've done it. If I did nothing else, I got one game. I got to wear it. I got my name on the back, the jersey, and it was fantastic. And then hang out guys with Squid and play. And we had, you know what, we didn't make a lot of money. We had a lot of fun.
Squid?
We had a lot of fun for sure. And, you know, and Stewie, Stewie was one of our better players as far as he was probably our best penalty killer by far. The one thing I got to ask you though, Stu, is, I don't think anybody in the league had more breakaways per game than you did, but couldn't put the puck in the net. And I know you stayed out after practice sometimes and everything, but did that frustrate you that you couldn't put it in as often as you would have liked? Because you really did have a lot of breakaways, and I mean clear-cut breakaways, and a lot of them were shorthanded because you were such a great penalty killer. And I always felt bad for you because of that, because everybody would, talk about it. And they said, well, you know what, leave him alone. Like, obviously he just can't score, and he's working at it, but you know what, it is what it is.
You know what? It's a great question, and it was very frustrating because when I was younger, of course, you win the scoring titles in your league, and when you're playing, and it wasn't. I don't even remember power play. You just got to play lots, and you're good, and you could you end up getting the results. And I remember coming to junior hockey, and again, my first year, George Armstrong said, unless you got a great chance, go and dump the puck in and chase it. Or if you don't have possession, just go to the hash mark, pick up your guy and bring and follow him back. So that was kind of the start of the defensive side, because here is George Armstrong, your coach and this icon, Leaf captain. He tells me to do something, I'm going to do it. And I'm probably too coachable. I just do exactly what they say. So I enjoyed that role. And I went, yeah, you're right. I wasn't this gifted goal scorer like Rick and other guys, but it was frustrating because I did get a lot of breakaways. My forte was my skating and my speed, and I think but no one. A couple guys would say try this move, but I really didn't know. I remember Billy DeLego, saying, hey, when he shot the puck, and he would pull it in towards him and then shoot it, but. I never really analyzed it, and quite frankly, there were no coaches. The players would help me. Pat Hickey, working on your backhand in tight and in the crease, getting the puck up, but no one really gave me. Said you should just do this later on. Not later on, but one player did say just work on one move. Come in and try to be a one move guy, but. You get in, and you're so much of life and in sport is confidence. And quite frankly, I didn't have the confidence, so I could get there. And then it was just but embarrassing because I thought, I don't want to breakaway. I'll try to pass or let someone else do it for odds. And it was just, but it did bother me because you wanted to score, you want to help your team, and you're getting the chances. But again, you didn't really have the some of the tools and maybe the instruction and hey, video and whatever, and even other goalies and where they might be weak. And I look at some of the videotapes of when we played. It's like, geez, why couldn't I have scored more? But it was frustrating for sure.
Well,
Stewie, maybe you should have listened to Chief, and when you had a breakaway, just dump it in and go to the bench or chase it.
Well, I was going to say to you, Stewie, now along the lines of your confidence, and you're saying you were lacking a little bit of your confidence. It took you a few years. You were up and down with the minor league team, and you finally stuck. And we ask this question to players a lot of the times. Was there a certain moment, a game, a situation, or a comment from somebody or anywhere that made you go home and think, finally, I made it? Or were you just too focused to try and stay in the lineup?
The early years in the early 80s, because from top to bottom, no one instilled any confidence in anyone. And it was like, they try to find fault with everyone. And it didn't matter how hard you worked. There was no respect, I think, or a lack of respect for just the effort that players put in. And so you just try to do your best. My dad always said hard work pays off, and I would try to work hard, but it really didn't seem to pay off, at least initially. And it really wasn't until probably my fourth or fifth year, I look around and go into camp, because every year you're thinking, okay, am I going to make the team? Who's going to be there? There's always the press clippings with new, young, hot rookies, or guys are coming in, and I'm thinking, you know what? I can outskate them. I can outwork you. And, if you just let the chips fall, hopefully I think I could make the team. Or they were going to be really good, in my mind. So, but it took 4 or 5 years to think, you know what, I belong. I can compete. I can skate with these guys. I'm as strong as them. Just that confidence level. And then when I went to Hartford, the coaching was there, and actually I had some great advice. My former spouse was an Olympic field hockey player, and helped on the visualization and kind of how you approach the game mentally. and things like, yeah, how are you going to score if you don't get shots? And if I've gone through a period and I didn't shoot the puck, then I know I'm not going to score. So I try to look back and think every shift I want to try to shoot the puck. So it wasn't even about scoring. I just want to get a shot on net.
Yeah.
So I changed my attitude, and then through that, then I had more confidence, and I would be I was able to sync nice with the line mates that I had, but it was just a maturity, elevated confidence, some other inputs that helped me have better results. And then that just feeds on itself. But it did take, for the first few years, I can remember the Leafs at every practice, you're thinking, oh, am I going to get sent down the next day or after each game? And they just about intimidate you and scare you. Hey, you better do this or you're going to be gone. Or I can remember this verbatim. If you can't play here, you basically can't play in the league. Well, like that's not what a bad attitude, like if you can't play for the Leafs, you're no one else wants you, so it's like.
Well, I was going to say to both you guys, in fairness to you both and to all the guys, we get a lot of laughs out of players doing now on this very subject. Your timing couldn't have been worse to arrive at the Maple Leafs. Now, Squid at least got to score 50 goals a couple of times, 3 times. The coaches, you must have gone through 5 or 6 coaches in your period. Their parking spots were fastened with Velcro because they never knew if they're going to be there the next day, never mind the players. So, I mean, the way Boris Salmi would say, he'd come to the rink and you'd see a little kerfuff outside the dressing room and he'd be like, what's going on in Circusville today? Yeah. So here's the question for you. I mean, first off, it must have been very deflating for you as a player to go into that environment every day, and you're talking about it already. Then you move to Hartford, all of a sudden things change for you. So those distractions, they must have mentally really wore on you. And when you relieved that, you all of a sudden became the player you did. Yeah, well, a couple little stories that people might like. I remember because of that pressure and the frustration of not doing well again, my dad said, just work hard and you'll get, it'll pay off. And I remember 2 little stories. One night we beat, I don't know, the Islanders. We beat a team which we shouldn't have beat. And it was so good. I thought, great, I'm going to go out tonight because most games you get your ass kicked. I just want to go home and sulk, and I don't want to go out anywhere because someone would be, you guys suck, or you guys are this, you guys are that. So I don't want to because I took it personally. And so we win, and I think, good, I'm going to go out. I go out, and the guys, oh, you guys are idiots, or you guys, I hate you guys. And I go, what? We won. It was, we should be celebrating. No, I bet on you guys to lose. I couldn't believe you won. So I thought, geez, I'm damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then another story, talk about on the coaching side, and Rick would for sure remember this. I think it was Mike Nicolak, but was me, the head coach, but Dan Maloney, and we were having, again, a really tough time. We had this guy come in on a non-game day. He must have spent 6 hours talking about positive thinking and being, and he had these little balls, and I remember the balls because you lift one ball and it would hit them, and one ball would go out, and then you put 2 balls in and 2 would go out. So basically the theory was, what you put in, you get out. And he had this whole positive thing. You got to, believe in each other and this and that. Well, we come out of there all lovey-dovey, all positive in each other. We're going to do great. The next night we played, I think, the Islanders. We got smoked 8-0. Well, Dan Maloney, and for anyone that knows him, he had a short fuse. Man, there was no positivity after that game and for about the next week, as he just ripped on everyone and threw those balls or whatever that any positive slogan shit, in the garbage, and started back the berating. But it was tough. There's a lot of demand, obviously, in Toronto. I think Rick, wearing the C, and the guys that were the leaders, I could be a 3rd, 4th line guy, and but we, for me and everyone, they wore it. We took a lot of pride in what we do and pride in the team and love being a Leaf. And we just wanted to win. And also because we knew the city was starved for success, or for the most part. And we always thought, and I always thought, wouldn't it be great if we could ever turn it around? This city would be fantastic to live in and to play in if you had success. And for my time, it wasn't there. And then going to Hartford, was
a bright light because there wasn't the pressure, and people didn't. People enjoyed the game, but they went to the game to have fun and not necessarily to sit there and kind of think that they're an expert on hockey. But and we did have a really good team there, very underrated, some great players, and a lot of guys that are obviously still very involved in the game on a coaching level. But it was nice. But there it was an eye opener too, because there was no ice bags in our training room. There was no training room. They didn't even have a stationary bike. It was just like, I remember Claude LaRose, great guy, one of our coaches. He pulls me aside the first day in Hartford. He goes, "Hey, Stu, we really glad that you're here." And he said, "We want you to kill penalties and this and that." And I said, "So, Rosie, what's the system? Do you rotate, or do you just keep a tight box? And are you force down low?" And he looks at me, and you can see him he thinks for a bit. He goes, "We do it just like Toronto." And I think we didn't have a system in Toronto. So I knew they had no system. It was just like Jack Evans was a coach, and he just basically said, "Go play. When you don't have the puck, work to get it." We had the same practice every day for 3 years, every day. So it was really interesting because I got to experience Toronto and the different characters and the environment and the challenges of playing in this city, and also the benefits when you did do well. And then you go to a different city and team, and the fans were different, and and you meet and you understand what's the strengths and the challenges in different communities and how different organizations treat their players. So I probably my best personal success in Hartford.
Yeah, Stewie, I remember that very clearly in Toronto when they brought John something or other was his name. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, I remember him going through all these. We were in a classroom setting, and he would be trying to tell us how positive we should be and everything. And I remember the one year we were probably about 40 points behind the division leaders, and he told us we could win the Stanley Cup. And I said, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, we're not going to get in the goddamn playoffs. How are we going to win the Stanley Cup? But meanwhile, he's telling us you can do whatever you want. You can win the Stanley Cup and everything. And we're all sitting there looking at him like, who the hell is this guy? It was like, but you know what? It is what it is. It was really dysfunctional. The 7 years I was there, and it was very difficult. I agree with you, Stewie, and like even myself, who had success individually, it was very, very difficult, and it was a tough thing to go through for sure.
I would leave at the end of the season in Toronto, and I have some property up in the Ottawa Valley, given that we're from Ottawa, so up near my parents' cottage, and I ended up buying a farm up there. And literally, I'd go up, and for a month, I'd go in the bush and just cut wood and firewood and split it, and just just get away, because back then, those cell phones were just starting to come out, but as soon as I got north of Bancroft, there was no signal. So no one could reach me, no one could contact me, and I didn't have to flip on the TV and so Leafs sucked, Leafs lost last night, or just get away from it all, and so that was a nice mental break.
Well, I was going to say to you, now we always get the players now. Any crazy stories that let me reword that. Your buddies obviously would always ask you Toronto, and everybody in Maple Leaf Gardens, everybody has this sort of visualized thought of what it would be like to walk in the Gardens, put that Maple Leaf crest on. Just you're walking almost on clouds. You're in the heaven. You're in the iconic spot of all hockey. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, it's the most dysfunctional group of misfits running this organization, and the stuff that was going on. Like, any stories come to mind, you just shake your head and you just think, this is professional hockey. Like Uncle Hal is an example. Like the story I love telling all the time, that's good, told us you guys couldn't get in the dressing room one day because he was getting a rub down, or he was getting his feet done by the trainer. So everybody had to wait until he was finished. Yeah.
I mean, there were so many. I mean, they're just characters, and there were so many events. I just remember one of my junior buddies, they played hockey with, and I think my perception was I go to the Leafs, iconic brand, original six, everything is going to be done the best. They're going to have the best trainers, the best coaches, the best everything. And then I get there, and the reality was, there was an old boys club, and some people were there because they're friends of someone, and it's just a different perception, even from your from the training and the equipment, and I just remember one thing was kind of ironic, and I'm not a smoker and never have been, but and there weren't many stalls in the bathroom, but then there were quite a few guys that smoked in the team, and so in between the intermission, they'd go into the bathrooms, be smoking, and the guys that needed to go to the bathroom didn't have anywhere to go, so it was like this fight. They hurry up and get out of there, but they're smoking, and this, you're an athlete, you're trying to get your breath and get energized, and you go in, and it's like mind you, everyone in the building was smoking. There was a gray haze up in the blues and further, but just a different environment. But hey, you know what? That said, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was
perfect.
Great people. Learned a lot.
Sorry, Stu, but I was one of those guys. But that's okay. I'm sorry.
No, it was good, and my parents always said, dream big, and so that whole positive thing was always there. But I think my message and my story, and it's probably repeated by other people, it's I was honored and grateful to achieve my goal, but when I look back, there were a lot of obstacles and challenges, and sometimes you think, how the hell did you do it? Because you just kept doing it, and fortunately, I was lucky enough to achieve it. But in junior hockey, 85-90% of those guys on my team didn't do it, and they went through the same stuff, which is too bad. But
well, I was going to say to you, Stu, how about this? So one of the obstacles you didn't have any, well, maybe it did, but this was an obstacle you weren't going to get by in 1990-91 with Minnesota. A guy by the name of Murray Lemieux was a little bit of an obstacle. Your run at the Stanley Cup. Talk about that year. I mean, that's the ultimate for you outside of winning. And by the way, your team at the beginning of the year, just for all the bettors out there you mentioned before, you guys were plus 3,000 to win the Cup that year. So for those who don't bet, $100 bet would have got you 3,000 if you bet on the Minnesota North Stars to win the Cup that year. They got to the final.
Well, it's to me, that year and that team epitomized the definition of team and teamwork. We had a Cinderella run at the end, but we just seemed to gel, and that confidence and belief that we could compete. And we had some young guys that were, coming into their own and getting better and better every game and every week, and some good veterans. I know we just made the playoffs as the 16th seed and played Chicago. Who is that good-looking guy over there? Is that you, Squidly? We played Chicago the first round and beat them, and they had battled it out with St. Louis, because St. Louis and Chicago or Chicago St. Louis were 1 and 2. So we beat Chicago the first round, and then we played St. Louis the second round, which was Hull and Oates, and they had a great year and a great team, and beat Edmonton the third round, who had won the Cup that previous year, and then lined up against Pitt and Lemieux and some of the young guys there. Yager as a young man, but what I remember was Bob Gainey pulling us together, and basically the game preparation and in each series, and he had it kind of detailed, and I would say to a man, we committed to that strategy. So Chicago, because Keenan was coaching, and we knew back then it was obviously all hockey was pretty aggressive and dirty and retaliatory. So Gainey said no retaliatory penalties, and even with Eddie Belfour, we had kind of a bit of a book that he was maybe weak. So all our practices, he would say, shoot high, shoot for the crossbar, everything's high, and even make that comment. So if he is reading the paper, so there's a little bit of strategies and the mental warfare we were trying to get into certain players' heads. But as a team, we said, we're going to initiate, but not retaliate. So I don't care if a guy spit in my face. I'm not going to go back at him. I'm going to try to hit him and go at him, but let him retaliate. So the strategy worked because teams weren't as disciplined and certain players weren't, and then they would be called and our power play worked and we beat better teams just because we as a team were better. They were probably better individually, but as a team we and our system and strategy played out. And really it was in the finals, which I thought we had a pretty good chance. Two things I think happened. One, we let Lemieux play. We didn't isolate him. The previous series, particularly with Hull and Oates, and then even Messier, like Neil Broughton, myself, and Gaetan Duchesne would be assigned to go against the top line. So the great thing as a role player, you got to play lots in the playoffs because they would match lines, and we shut them down. And then our guys would win or get the goals, and the power play get the goals. In the finals, it was just like, okay, we're there now. Let's just play. So that was a bit different strategy. But the other thing was, and I think it was really important. We win the first game, we lose the second one, so we're tied. We win the third game back in Minnesota, and now we're thinking, okay, if we win the fourth game, now we're back in for the fifth to get the cup. Now, some of the partners and spouses are thinking, well, I want to go for the fifth game. We haven't even won the fourth game yet, but the organization had done a great job of kind of keeping the players focused outside of the media. We stayed at a hotel at home, so we didn't have the distraction of being in the community. And Bob said, don't look at the newspaper clippings. Don't start to read how good you are. Don't read anything. And again, I think a lot of us didn't do that, maybe some of us, but we really stuck to the game plan. But in the finals, I remember we had it all with the players and great communication, but I think they omitted some of the family members. So now, some of them are trying to make plans to fly into Pittsburgh for Game 5 for the Cup Final or to get the cup, and the players are being distracted to make arrangements for their spouse, and the team didn't do that, and so there's a bit of a disconnect. And what I've seen, anyone that is really successful is really focused. And I don't care if it's in business and as an athlete, if you are laser focused, you can have great results. If you get a little bit distracted, the end result may be not as good. And I think we had a few guys who were a little bit distracted, and that impacted their on ice performance. And and the worst result was you dream of playing and win the Stanley Cup and hoisting it, whether it be playing in your driveway, taking shots in the games or wherever. And everyone wants to be the hero too, but you get to the final, and the last game we lose 8-0 in our barn. I remember it's like you were so, I wouldn't say deflated, just frustrated, because you still you're down 5-0 going into the third and think, okay, we got to win it. And then it's 10 minutes to go and it's now 6 or 7-0. It's just like, and you didn't know if you wanted to sucker punch someone, chop them over the head, just your frustration, just do something. But then you're like a poor sport, and you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it with any dignity to get your butt kicked like that, especially in your own barn. And so, quite frankly, it was the highlight of my career, but also the biggest disappointment, because you get there, you taste what it's like, how enjoyable it was. Everyone focused in on really what we play and do all year, and then you don't achieve it. It was a huge disappointment, and no one cares about runner-ups. It's just it's all or nothing. And so for years and years and years, quite frankly, I had dreams, and I would be making comebacks, and I'm like 40 or 45 years old, and I'm thinking about coming back to play to try to win a cup. And that was that was the one goal that I had that I wanted to do, and obviously didn't do it, but it was sure fun to be there and compete in that. I just wish I had more of them.
Squid?
Well, it's funny because I remember my father, we were never allowed to stay up and watch all the games, but one of the things he did, at least with me anyway, sometimes my brother, but mostly every single year he woke me up when they gave out the Stanley Cup. And I got to agree with you, Stu. When you go into the National Hockey League, that's your goal. You're there to win a Stanley Cup, and it's very, very disheartening when you finish a 13-year career and you never even got by the second round. It's very, very frustrating. Yeah. And you can do a lot of things individually, but they don't compare to winning as a team and winning a Stanley Cup as a team. Nothing comes close to winning a championship with a bunch of guys that you go to war with basically day in and day out for an entire season.
Yeah, and you see that with the alumni, with the guys that have won cups, and sadly there's fewer and fewer around because the 67 team was the last one. But when we're around at different alumni events, that camaraderie, that connection, that bond they have, because they have a very special bond of achieving that ultimate goal. And it took me literally years and years when and especially my business dealing with NHL players, and guys would go to the finals. And when I'd see them lose, I could relate to them. I could not relate to the joy of winning, but I just felt so bad for them. And it wasn't until I had two clients that were lost in Philly one year when I think it was Kane scored that goal that he's the winner in Philly, and it was like. It was in, but the play kept going. But he was dancing around, celebrating. But he knew it was in. The game was over. The series was done. And unfortunately, those guys I work with, they got traded, ended up in LA and winning a cup the next year. And quite frankly, after that, I felt so bad for them that he didn't get it. And then when they won, I was so happy that they won to erase that. It was from there I could watch it. But again, I'm grateful and delighted to have had that career. And it just that confidence, I just reinforce it. If you apply yourself and work hard, good things can happen, and that's what I've tried to do in hockey and in my life.
Well, we just want to say we could talk to you for hours, Stu. We got lots of stuff we could go through, but time is of essence. We want to thank you for joining us. But let me just leave you with this note here, and for the listeners out there, if you haven't gotten the message by now that the Maple Leafs were a little bit poorly run by management back in maybe the 80s. Try this one on for side. Our friend Stewie Gavin, he was traded in 1985 for Chris Kostopoulos. Now, the irony in this trade is, now you've heard us all talk about, now here he was at the Stanley Cup Finals, taking his team there, and he's one of the key defensive specialists checking the top players in the National Hockey League for the finals. The Toronto Maple Leafs traded him because they wanted to shore up defensively. So this is how things were operating. Now, Squid's making faces. He's going, what else is new?
Well, talking about management that year, when I got traded, Jerry McNamara let me know that I was traded. I said, well, who did I get traded for? I said, I don't, he said, I can't tell you right now. I said, oh, okay. And then, half an hour later or 15 minutes later, I get a phone call from some guy, and it's like, hi, Jerry, it's Chris Kostopoulos. His GM or someone gave him the wrong number. Someone gave out my number instead of the Leaf number. So I found out who I got traded for by the guy that called. I thought he was calling the team or the GM. He ended up with my number, but actually, it was just it's just funny how things happen, and all stories and good memories, and nowadays how the game's played and how refined it is, and the 18 coaches and video coaches and all these, it's changed so much. Yeah, the guys make a lot more money, but I said they don't have as much fun, but it's and the game is sure different. But, I love watching the game now. The skill set is so good. The guys are so good, those days were crazy, tough, hard hockey, but they're fun most of them were fun to be in until you had to go into Philly and some of these other goon shows and but it was all good. But thanks, great guys. It was great to join you in your show.
Yeah, great. Thanks for joining us, Stewie. Best of luck.
Thanks, Stu.
Congratulations again on the sale.
Thanks.